What's up guys, Jared McMore here again with another video. Like I promised, every day there's going to be a video for you to ingest. Today's video, and specifically today's topic, is really close to my heart and has really been close to how I've been dealing with work lately. Something I notice in life and something I notice about work is that there's two different types of people. There's the person who says, if this doesn't work out, if I can't do this, this happens, if I get embarrassed. There's so many ifs to a situation that you stop yourself from doing whatever you want to do. Then there's a person who ignores the ifs, who recognizes the ifs, and instead of saying I can't do this because of those ifs, they found a way around them and they do whatever they want to do. Do it! Now I haven't exactly pinpointed, what makes who and why, but I do recognize that those two types of people exist. And certainly last year, and maybe even the year before last year, I started being more on the do side than more on the if side. That makes me extremely happy, and that makes me extremely excited about my future in the next year 2 to 10 years of working on what I love to work on and doing what I love to do instead of saying I want to do something and letting those ifs get in the way.
Don't let your dreams be dreams.
I've noticed that in my life there have been a couple of things that I had a lot of ifs to, and this is really recent actually. In the past year there has been things that I've had a lot of ifs to and that I had a lot of worries about, but I ignored those worries and I ignored my mind and instead went with my gut feeling and actually did whatever I was thinking about. And those situations have always worked out in my favor. One of those things, and probably the biggest thing, is joining the Army National Guard. In the beginning, like all of you, like anyone who has experienced the Army or is thinking about joining the Army, saying yes or no to the National Guard was just like saying yes or no to the Army. Reason being, we might only go 1 weekend a month, but when you're deployed with real Army and you're doing real Army things. And so I had to look at it with the scope of not how is every weekend going to be for the next however many months, but instead how is it going to be if I get deployed. And this is where a lot of the ifs came from, and like you'd imagine, and like you're probably saying to yourself, the Army is a dangerous place and probably one of the most dangerous occupations to have. And so my ifs came in, of course, like everybody else's. If I get deployed, what happens? If I get injured in combat, what happens to my life? If my life ends, what happens, and how do I feel about that, joining the National Guard? And so of course I had a lot of ifs and a lot of worries, and like anyone else who has experienced joining one of the branches of the military, those ifs were very strong, and you have to deal with a lot of those ifs when you're first making the decision to sign the paper and join any branch of the military. But I stopped those ifs dead in their tracks when I decided to join the Army National Guard and went to basic training and AIT. And one thing I found is that ignoring those ifs and saying that those ifs didn't matter, and instead just doing and joining and going to training. AIT and basic training were both major parts of my life in which I learned so much in a little amount of time. Both were 9 weeks long and both really had different things to teach me, but they both did teach me a ton. Personal courage, hard work, getting up every day and getting yelled at is not easy to face. I think I learned those valuable lessons much faster because of the environment I was in. So ignoring those ifs for the first time in my life worked out a bunch. And I'm sure going into the real Army, it'll be much different from my training environment, but I'm sure that I'll still love the fact that I ignored those ifs. And especially later in my life when I'm advantaging from the things that the National Guard is giving me, I'll look back and say that I'm happy that I ignored those ifs. The next thing, and this actually happened before I went to National Guard, but I just wanted to bring up the thing that changed me most. But this happened before, and it sort of changed me in the same way. I got an internship at the place that I work now, which is Connor Funeral Home, and I got an internship as a PR and marketing person. And like a lot of other high school students, my internship started out as taking the trash out, mopping, sweeping, doing whatever they needed to do around the funeral home to make things run a little bit smoother and so that they didn't have to do those things. But fairly quickly into the job, I learned that the person who had basically taken me on for the internship and the owner of the funeral home was really looking for something for me to do, and specifically called out a few things that the funeral home needed that I might be able to do. Now these things weren't so upfront and they were pretty vague. He handed me a list of things that he wanted to accomplish as far as marketing and PR, and basically handed me those, and it was a big pile of mess when I got it. And I basically formulated a bit of an idea around what he wanted and presented that to him. But while I was formulating that idea, I had a lot of ifs in my mind. What if he doesn't like it? What if he thinks the ideas are crap? What if he doesn't go forward with this? Am I just gonna stay like a regular intern? What's gonna happen? I always say luck has nothing to do with business, because it doesn't, but in this case I felt like 10% of it was luck and the other 90% was my idea. But I presented it to him and he loved it, and we went forward with the idea. And from that moment on, he paid me, and now I'm still with the funeral home doing that same project called This Is Reynoldsburg. And it has turned out to be a great marketing and PR tool for the funeral home. So after those two situations, we fast forward to now, where I'm starting my own YouTube channel, and more specifically, I'm starting my own business. Of course, starting my own business comes with a lot of financial risk, a lot of time risk, but I'm so young that I'm willing to take those risks. But with all of that, of course, comes the ifs. What if this fails? What if I lose all my money? What if I waste so much time on this? What if I waste other people's time on this? But for me, I had these two situations which taught me that ignoring these ifs will pay off in the long run, and will pay off extremely well. My business may not take off, and my business may not be the next Fortune 500 company, but no matter what, I'm sure that these ifs will pay off in a way that I'll gain experience, or I'll gain something from this experience that I hadn't before I was asking all these questions, and if I was worrying about if this would work or not. I think in life we tend to sort of catch a safety net, but if you look at the youngest companies and the companies which are doing damage right now, Uber, Airbnb, stuff like that, you realize that putting a label on yourself and living one life limits you and puts you in a place where you can't really grow, and there's really no room for growth from there. So what I hope you learned from this video is the fact that you may have something in your life right now that you feel so passionate about and that you feel like would work perfectly, but you're saying if to that idea, and you're saying if to the potential risk that that idea might entail. I just want to urge you so much, stop and really take those ifs and throw them in the trash and just do and execute on your idea. One of the worst feelings in life is regret, and you regret a lot when you pay attention to those ifs and when you let those ifs limit you and limit your mindset.
I don't need recognition, I'm on a mission, I'm paying dues, I'm in position, I'm staying up, it's getting late, you're doing good, I'm doing great, recognition, I'm on a mission, I'm paying dues, I'm in position, I'm staying up, it's getting late, you're doing good, I'm doing great. Hours of practice, they don't feel like working, overthinking, I don't mean to let the pain and hurting